Welcome to this long-awaited YouTube where Grizzer enters his new habitat. And the first thing we'd like to do is acknowledge our donation from John and Donna Ver that made all of our retirement enclosures possible, including where Shadow Malik are located, the pack holding area where Grizzer had been located, as well as the vestibules and the new enclosure. Certainly without their support over the last 2 decades, we wouldn't have the quality care that we have for our animals today. What you're looking at is our medical pen, and essentially what had happened is after last winter, and we had to do a lot of hands-on medical work with our wolves, we discovered kind of a weakness that we had on site, in that we had a kennel, basically a chain link boxed all the way around area that had a flat roof on it but had no cover from winter snow. So what we did was the Working for Wolves crew kind of started the walls and framed in the walls with 2x4s. We also improved the roof for Grizzer's area, the pack holding area where Grizzer had been located. But basically what we did for his new habitat was connected the new enclosure to his existing pack holding area, again putting a protective roof over a flat panel chain link to avoid heavy snow on it. He can come and go through that little vestibule to be able to enter the new enclosure. A couple of key things we had to do. We had to make sure that Grizzer had enough space away from Aiden and Denali, and so on the right side of the fence you'll actually see, as you watch through this video, a new fence was constructed, and here again Grizzer's coming through the vestibule that connects the two enclosures. So a new fence was constructed to give him about 4 feet of space from Aiden and Denali's enclosure, so that makes him feel a little bit more comfortable. We also put wood visual barriers so that he doesn't have to look at them. The rock that you're seeing is covering the ground wire. Basically all wolf enclosures have a ground wire to prevent wolves from digging. So the rock adjacent to the fence covers one edge, and the rock on the outside covers the other edge of the ground wire. And we did include visual barrier fence on the back side, so if there were, say, a wild wolf that came up to the outer security fence, he would have that protection. All corners of the exhibit of the new habitat are concreted in. Wolves have a tendency to like to dig at corners, and so they all have concrete. All the gates have concrete. The vestibule is concrete, so a very safe, secure area for Grizzer. And the other thing that we did is we let Oscar kind of run around in there while we were working. If you recall from last week's YouTube, Oscar is a new dog that we picked up in the lab, kind of the lab dog who is on site to help relieve some anxiety for Grizzer, and actually he's done a wonderful job keeping Grizzer calm and giving Grizzer an outlet to focus on, and to actually, Grizzer did play bows to Oscar the other day. Through the fence, of course, because Oscar is a dog and Grizzer is a wolf. The other thing that you'll notice here is the rock den. We did a similar den like we did with Shadow Malik, meaning we did a straw den that was encased in concrete and completely supported, and then piled with rocks. Again, rocks give us a lot of good stimulus. Vegetation can grow in rocks better than concrete. We'll find vines will attach and start growing on there. And it's sturdy, it's safe for Grizzer to climb, and while he's still investigating and sniffing, eventually he does climb on the den in his first moments in the new habitat. So you're kind of seeing a view that goes back towards the existing pack holding area. There's Grizzer going through the vestibule, and he can come and go if he wants. If he wants to stay in this new part or go back to the old part. The nice thing about the old part is that he can still have access to the wolf lab, which he likes to see what's going on there. So here you can see he climbed the rock face and came up on top of the den. The den is covered with again concrete as well as sand to give him a nice comfortable place to lay, so that gives him a little bit digging action. And he had no problem maneuvering or scaling up the rock wall. We do mortar those rocks in so that they don't slip on him. That's one of the important things about a lot of the work that we've been doing lately. Those of you who may have been to the center for a behind the scenes or a program in the last month, you may have seen this incredible pile of rock that was dumped in the front yard. All but one rock was actually moved for this project. So one rock was too large to haul by hand, and we'll have to get a piece of equipment in here to haul it. So that was done by one of the Minnesota Conservation Corps volunteers and our Vermilion Work Study, who is assigned here for the summer Those two individuals hauled rock for 2 days during some incredibly hot weather, probably the highest heat index we've had here in Ely. That was a rock hauling day. So you can see he's cautious, but again, those rocks are designed not to slip. They're concreted in so that they will stay fairly stable for him. As with all wolves, they're a little bit cautious about going into confined spaces, enclosed spaces. He will investigate the den, but did not go in, although Oscar was sleeping in it a couple of days ago, so there's Oscar's scent in it. The other thing that we noticed is that he's been marking raised leg urination, which is a good sign. You know, he's feeling comfortable enough to mark his territory. And again, it's going to take him a little time, and Oscar is here to help. And so with Oscar through the fence, again, creating a good, calm influence, as well as maybe getting Grizzer a little bit excited to do a chase, will help him. So he's doing well. In retirement, obviously, one wall I forgot to mention, the brown wall on the left-hand side is shared with the retired pack, meaning it's just one fence, one wood wall. We put some dog panels over it to protect the wood so Grizzer wouldn't chew on it, but essentially those two have a shared fence line. And we felt that that was safe because they're, at retirement, they're not likely to be aggressive through the fence like, say, the younger animals are, and that has proven to be the case. Malik and Shadow, as Grizzer went in there, really paid no attention to him, pretty much heard him, listened for a bit, kind of walked the fence line, and then just kind of went about their business, which is typically for Shadow standing up on top of his den, getting in the highest vantage point and listening and watching. And so this is a filmed from below, where I'm basically sitting on a rock below the den to see, again, what we call a stand tall behavior, which he likes to just prop himself up and get as tall as he can and see what's going on. It also is usually a precursor to a howl, meaning Shadow, as the dominant male that was in the exhibit pack, was moved out into retirement before he really lost any status. So psychologically, he's still very dominant, and psychologically he is one of those that when he sees or hears something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, or hears a little bit of dominance with the exhibit pack, or there's strangers in the wolf yard, he's the one who's going to respond first. And so what I'll do is, again, we just decided to go ahead and film these partial howls. Not all that stimulated. Actually, I can't even recall what was going on that created that interest in howling. I think it was still construction work, which is now winding down. We're doing the last phases of construction now, and just doing some miscellaneous things to help Oscar be safe in the wolf yard, meaning putting up some panels along the fence to protect him from the chain link fence so that he can't possibly go put a nose or a paw through the fence. But so I'll let you listen to Shadow as he goes into a full-blown howl. As I said, one of the things about Oscar's presence has been really calm for Grizzer, and actually getting Grizzer to settle down when construction had previously made him anxious. The other response that we've seen is Aiden's been extremely social towards Oscar, very excited to see him, a lot of whining, and that has turned into a very calm animal with wolf care staff. Now, there could very well be a stimulus of prolactin hormone. It's hard to say what the wolves perceive of Oscar. We did particularly choose a smaller dog, so that would make it a little less threatening to the wolves. And Aiden's been extremely social, very interested in where Oscar is, and in turn has been extremely relaxed with staff. And that's been one of those things that is a complete and utter change since pre-Oscar days. So Oscar's been a really good influence, not just on Grizzer, who we intended for him to have some social companionship, but he's been a great influence on Aiden. And we really think that that may very well be the what we see with the pups in 2012, is that Aiden takes on a very social role, a very relaxed role, a very interested, focused kind of role on the pups. Denali, on the other hand, is not as interested in Oscar, but he's not aggressive towards him. He's not opposed to him being in the wolf yard. He just really is indifferent to him. Although there are some times when Denali does follow Oscar up the fence line and exhibits a whine, but for the most part, the relaxation could also be due to the heat. We have had some incredibly warm days for northern Minnesota in the 90s with high humidity, which have been miserable for wolves. They don't have sweat glands. They're covered with hair all over their bodies, so they're panting, or evaporation of heat off their tongue is how they cool themselves. And on these hot and humid days, there isn't much evaporating out there. So this was filmed on our first couple of days of cooling weather, where we had 80s, which we never would have thought that we would have said that was a cooler day, but that certainly was a cooler day. And then the first day on Saturday, this past Saturday, when it got into the highs of the 60s, these two just romped all day long for the public in front of the windows, just where definitely had a lot of energy built up from sleeping for several days in the heat, and were active and had a good feeding, and did pretty well. You can almost tell here that Denali is starting to grow his winter coat back already, and that's really something that we aren't seeing on Aiden as much as Denali. But again, we're happy with the response. We're happy with Grizzer's new area, and hope to have more to report on his interactions with Oscar in the future. Thanks for watching.